Unbeknownst to most, Chernobyl is much more dangerous than the government leads you to believe. Aside from the chronic radioactivity, there's a threat that lurks behind those stone walls that far exceeds that emitted from Reactor 4. Unfortunately for me, I discovered firsthand what they're hiding. My best friend, Jesse, and I paid for a guided tour of the Chernobyl nuclear site along with the evacuated town of Pripyat. As a sort of early birthday present for me, I'd always had a morbid fascination with the facility, so when the opportunity to visit arose, I jumped at the chance. We had already journeyed through the eerily desolate ghost town, and we were soaking in the view of the place where it all happened. That's when Jesse proposed an idea, one that I still regret going along with to this day. And this, everyone, this is what you all came to see. This structure is effectively referred to as the sarcophagus, standing at over 63 meters tall and constructed from metal concrete. The sarcophagus houses the infamous Reactor 4, the same reactor that would inevitably malfunction, leading to a catastrophic meltdown that cost hundreds of people their lives in the ensuing weeks. The tour guide extended his hand toward the massive building in a grand gesture, like a band director leading an orchestra. Just looks like a giant warehouse to me, Jesse mumbled. That's basically what it is, I retorted. Look, I didn't come all this way just to gawk at a storage unit on steroids. I have an idea, Jesse said, a devilish grin inching across his lips. What is it? I asked, rolling my eyes. I think I know a way to get inside. I furrowed my brow, gaping at him like he'd just told me the sky was pink. Dude, are you crazy? It's closed off for a reason. Come on, it's been what? 35 years. It can't be that much of a risk anymore. I can't believe you just told me that. That's like saying a silverback gorilla won't tear you limb from limb because it's past its prime. He pursed his lips. Aren't you even a little curious about what it looks like in there? This is our only chance. I paused. Maybe Jesse was right. Assuming we would even be able to find a way in, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It was now or never. Okay, we'll take a look, then head right back out and catch up to the rest of the group. They'll notice we're missing if we stay for too long. You're the best, bro. I knew you'd come around, he said, fist bumping me. We trailed behind our fellow tourists, anxiously anticipating the perfect moment to slip away. Eventually, the party rounded the corner of a building, and we made our move. Jesse tugged on my shirt sleeve, leading the charge through the forsaken concrete graveyard, cautious to avoid the leering gaze of any guards who were skulking about. He halted before an unmonitored entrance. Dude, how the hell did you know where to go? You beelined right for the door, I wheezed, mentally face-palming myself for refusing to work out. He smirked knowingly. The dark web is a wonderful place. Let's go. He twisted a rusted handle, and the door laboriously creaked open. We were in. A long, narrow hallway stretched before us. A smattering of dim, flickering lights illuminated our path. In a sickly yellow glow, I gulped. My stomach began twisting itself into knots. We didn't belong there. Jesse, are you sure about this? This place gives me the creeps. Quit being such a baby. Follow me. He scurried off before I had a chance to protest. I mindlessly obeyed, tailing him closely. As we traversed the forsaken facility, offices lined each side of the hall, thick metal barriers shielding the spaces within. I stopped and peered into one through a small grungy window encased in the rusted door. The room was dark, the only source of light radiating from a sole dinosaur of a monitor. A disheveled man in a lab coat lazily pecked at a far outdated keyboard. I ducked out of view, afraid he might take notice. I caught up to Jesse and furiously tapped him on the shoulder. Hey, man, this place isn't deserted. I just saw someone. Yeah, why do you think we're sneaking around like this? I wanted to clap back, but the words died in my throat. I silently followed along like a sheep being led to the slaughter. We crept through a maze of decrepit hallways for what felt like an eternity. After what seemed like hours, but in reality was more like 5 minutes, we found ourselves standing before a set of double doors. Fluorescent yellow caution tape was draped over them. A withered peeling sign barely clung to the metal. Vibrant red letters screamed in Russian. I pulled out my phone to translate. Danger, unsafe radiation levels. Jesse, I think we should go back now. We've seen enough, I said, cold sweat forming atop my brow. Seriously, dude, we're almost there. We didn't come this far to see a run-down office building. There's plenty of those back home. I couldn't argue with that logic. I begrudgingly helped him push open the doors, and there it was, a spectacle we'd been waiting for. Towering above us stood the tomb of Reactor 4, scaffolding shrouded an enormous concrete structure. Bright floodlights beamed down from overhead like alien tractor beams. I gawked at the massive stone monument, struggling to comprehend what I was looking at. Suddenly, Jesse shoved me hard against the wall, into an area cloaked in darkness. "Oh, what'd you do that for?" "Shut up. Look," he hissed, pointing to a balcony overlooking the room. I traced his trajectory, and my eyes landed on a figure. A stark white hazmat suit obscured their face from view. My blood turned to ice when I noticed what he was carrying. An AK-47. I scanned the surrounding terraces and scaffolding. At least 5 more armed guards in biosuits prowled the area. It was a miracle they hadn't spotted us. "Jay, let's turn around. Please, this isn't worth getting killed." He spun around to face me. Pure undeterred perseverance masked his visage. My heart sank. I knew that look. "Go back if you want. There's something I want to see." As much as my intuition pleaded with me to take him up on that offer, I couldn't bring myself to do it. Jesse was my best friend. I couldn't leave him there. I silently nodded, "Jesse," and I slithered through the shadows. My heart thumped in my ears with each calculated footfall. We crouched beneath gargantuan pipes framed into the wall, heads on a swivel the entire way. All of a sudden, Jesse abruptly stopped. I skidded to a halt, clenching my teeth as I attempted to avoid a collision. He was pointing at something, a subterranean staircase. "There, that's what I came here to see." "Are you insane? That's right under the reactor. We'll get radiation poisoning if we go down there." I whisper-screamed, cringing at how loud my voice sounded in the eerily silent room. Don't believe everything you see online. We'll be okay," he scoffed, waving off my concern. Trepidation constricted itself around me like an anaconda. Jesse locked eyes with me. On the count of 3, we make our move. My eyes grew wide with panic. I didn't sign up for this. 1, "Jesse, I don't know if." 2, he narrowed his eyes on me, shutting me up. 3, we bolted for the stairs, abandoning our stealthy facade. I immediately felt the sharp breeze of something metallic whiz past my ear. They were shooting at us. I willed myself forward, sprinting faster than I knew I was capable. We leapt down the steps, taking them 3 at a time as a siren blared somewhere above us. My heart pounded like a jackhammer. My life began to flash before my eyes. This was it. This was where I was going to die. After what seemed like a lifetime, Jesse, and I reached the bottom landing, graciously unscathed. We dove through an orange-tinted corroded door, slamming it shut behind us. I released the breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Jesse's eyes were wide as saucers, and he was hyperventilating, but he motioned for me to continue. We weren't out of the woods yet. We darted through the dark room, weaving between whirring machines and ancient equipment. I struggled to navigate my surroundings as my vision gradually adjusted to the dull lighting. My legs ached and my lungs burned as I ran, waiting apprehensively for an army of footsteps to thunder after us. Eventually, we reached a hallway. An automatic sliding glass door blocked our path. Jesse sidled up to a retina scanner jutting from the wall. Beside it, he knelt before the device, holding his eyelid open while it scanned his cornea. A green light flashed, and the door inched open. My jaw fell to the floor. "Hold on, you have access to this place. What's going on here?" Boom. A resounding bang echoed from the entrance. The guards were in. No time to explain. "Move." He dashed through the entryway, leaving me little choice but to follow suit. The automatic door slowly returned to its locked position, almost as if we were never there. Once we'd put some distance between us and our pursuers, Jesse and I took a moment to catch our breaths. I drank in the esoteric environment. Fear seeped into my bones when I finally had a chance to process what I was looking at. Holding cells lay embedded on either side of us. A few inches of what I assumed to be bulletproof glass was the only obstacle between us and the abominations that were housed within. I turned to my left. I instantly diverted my gaze, bile creeping up my throat like magma. A feeble old man with dozens of fingers sprawling sporadically from his face leered back at me, each knobby digit grappling aimlessly at the air. To my right, a woman with 2 extra pairs of arms sprouting from her back pounded furiously against the glass. The utter despair behind her eyes shattered my heart into pieces. They ambled forward, We were met with more of the same. A man with 3 conjoined faces, a woman with ears dotting her whole body, and the worst of all, a child, no more than 10 years old, stared back at us through 7 spider-like eyes. I suddenly stopped dead in my tracks. I needed answers. Jesse, he whipped around, a twinge of annoyance percolating his features. We have to keep moving. No, I'm not going anywhere until you explain yourself. He glanced at the ground and sighed. Fine, I didn't want it to have to be this way, but you're making things difficult. To my dismay, Jesse produced a walkie-talkie from his pocket. He pressed a button on the side and spoke into it. Guards, Subject Omicron has arrived in Block B. I repeat, Subject Omicron has arrived in Block B. A deep, gruff voice crackled over the walkie. Roger that. Incoming. I had no clue what any of that meant, but I knew it couldn't be good. I sprinted in the direction we came. A swarm of hazmat suits piled through the sliding door as I approached it. The next thing I knew, rubber gloves were seizing my arms and dragging me back toward Jesse. One of the men emerged from the rear and handed him a biosuit. He began to slip it on as a figure with a gas mask, and a white coat entered through a door behind him. The man stood beside Jesse, glowering down at me through the thin plastic shrouding his countenance. Austin, meet Uncle Nikolai. Uncle Nico, Austin. The enigma of a man removed his mask. I retched at the sight of the monstrosity before me. Thin wispy hair protruded from his scalp in ugly uneven patches. Blotchy mottled skin sagged so low that I could see his tendons. Beneath his eyes, an amalgamation of blood and red angry veins peeking out at me. His lips had withered away, leaving nothing to shield his mustard yellow teeth. I turned away, unable to fathom what I was seeing. Pleasure, Subject Omicron. Nikolai snarled in a heavy Russian accent, a wide stomach churning grin carving itself into his features. It's Austin, I retorted, attempting to subdue the quiver in my voice. He won't be needing your legal name anymore. Jesse chimed in, deserting his phony English accent. I reconnected with Uncle Nico here after moving to the US a few years back. He's paying me a handsome sum to bring him unsuspecting saps like yourself. Nothing personal. You were just too gullible to pass up. He chuckled, sending a shockwave of panic through my chest. My vision grew hazy, and my head buzzed as a sense of abject hopelessness permeated my soul. How could Jesse do this to me? He was supposed to be my best friend. The burly men clutching my arms began to drag me away as Nikolai reapplied his gas mask. Wait, Jesse, what's going on? Don't do this. He smirked at me from behind his veiled uniform. Uncle Nico will explain everything. Omicron. And the name's not Jesse, it's Ivan. Ivan mixed in with the procession, disappearing into a sea of white. Meanwhile, the men continued forward, hauling me through a thick reinforced steel door. I flashed in and out of consciousness, the sound of oppressive footsteps knocking me back to reality. We continued, passing monitors tracking vitals of various subjects amongst other data and statistics. Masked scientists scurried about, paying no mind to the stoic party of guards making its way through their stations. Then they stopped. My head was jerked upright. Before me sat a wall of holding cells, nearly identical to the ones I'd seen in the hall, with one distinct difference. The middle was significantly larger than any of the detention chambers I had previously observed. Inside stood an ungodly behemoth that still roots itself in my nightmares. Glowering back at us through loathing red eyes was a man. He towered above us, his head nearly cresting the 10-foot ceiling. Thick brawny muscles framed his entire physique, pulsating, ready to tear his victims in half at a moment's notice. Prime knife-like claws protruded from each 7-digit hand. A long reptilian tail swayed back and forth like a pendulum. The thing's eyes lit up upon seeing us. It unleashed a deafening roar, rattling the equipment and exposing a mouth full of jagged pointed teeth. Nikolai spoke, ripping me from my horrified stupor. This, my dear Omicron, is Subject Alpha. You see, with the right amount of radiation, super drugs, and a bit of luck, we'll be able to replicate an entire army just like the specimen before you. Consider yourself fortunate. You'll get to be one of the first. I grasped for something, anything to combat his wicked revelation, but I was at a complete loss for words. I barely caught Ivan's snicker, my thoughts racing a mile a minute. Guards, show Subject Omicron to his living quarters, Nikolai demanded as I was thrust into a cell directly to the right of Subject Alpha. The beast ran a clawed finger down the glass separating us, sending ice into my veins. Behave yourself, Omicron, and rest up. I'll be back to administer your first round of treatment in the morning. And with that, they left me unsettlingly alone. It's been a week since then. They've injected me with a plethora of assorted cocktails. I can feel my body changing, morphing, evolving. My phone doesn't work down here. I managed to snag Nikolai's while he wasn't looking. I overheard him bragging to one of his cohorts that he's programmed it with internet capabilities. I'm writing this as a last-ditch effort to tell my story while I'm still of sound mind. It's too late for me, but it's not for you. I'm begging you, whatever you do, stay far, far away from the Chernobyl nuclear power plant.